Okay, this is Sedutor. He's a 17-year-old Lusitano gelding. I've owned him since he was 7, and he's sudi to his friends. So he was a completely crazy horse when I first had him, very, very difficult. He used to spin so fast, something that you could never even see, and frighten himself so badly that sometimes my head would actually touch his backside. He'd spin so fast, and the G-forces would throw me backwards. But he was never a bad horse. It was just purely he was a very nervous one. And so I never really thought that we'd ever end up with him as a very good schoolmaster, which he has been now for my students for several years. Tallulah is one of my part-time working students, also a very valued member of staff who takes over for me when Kay's on holiday. And she's a very, very good rider now. And I'm using her to demonstrate mainly the positional stuff, because she's not so good at doing things wrong now. That's the problem. So I'm the better one to show how to do things wrong. So we're just going to have a look at the position. And again, Tallulah's in a lovely position. You'll notice that her feet do turn out a lot more even than Lol's. Lol's got one ankle that turns out more than the other. Very often people are stiff in one ankle and less stiff in the other. But Tallulah has had some problems with her hips, you know, even sort of from a very young age, and it's always caused her to turn her feet out. So we've managed to sort of compensate for this. The ideal, of course, is that the foot turns completely forward, and it's the one good bit of me that's still left, that I can actually move my hips very easily. But in this case, Tallulah has got a very good leg position, because she's learned to compensate by using sort of slightly the back of the calf and the inside of the calf, so that she can still use her legs in an inward and forward manner, which again we'll look at more in the lesson on the basic aids that we're going to do next. But by using the leg like that, so she's not then gripping up and back, or her legs are not just pinging off and flapping, which looks so horrid, and yet you see so many people doing that, and we'll look at that as well as to why that happens in the lesson, in particular on the sitting trot. And so she's quite able to use her legs, because she's just letting her knee come slightly away from the saddle there, so that she can then get the lower leg in contact around the horse's sides. So many instructors, perhaps you could do it too, if you stick all the reins in the right hand, pull your thigh muscle out behind, and you'll see then how it forces the whole calf away, and so she's going to find it much more difficult then to actually get her lower leg round the horse's side, because it's already being forced away by the thigh being pulled outside. And as a friend of mine said, what do you do in rising trot? Go hoik and pull the thigh muscles out at each time, because it's going to pop back round again regardless of what you do. So again, Tallulah's in one of my Vogue saddles, so again she's got the stirrup leather hanging perpendicularly underneath her thigh instead of it being pulled further back. So it means that she can very easily sit in that ear, shoulder, hip, heel line of balance. Now, she does have a tendency to not only be like Princess Diana with her feet, but she has got a tendency to look down. She was a very, very shy person when she first came here. And so I always used to say she was looking up shyly underneath the peak of her hat. Generally, I still sometimes have to tell her about it. And she's normally got a very long plait that goes right the way down her back, and she's hooked it up today. But I have threatened her with a belt round her middle and me attaching the plait to it so that she can't look down, like it or not. But the thing is, I think that a lot of the time, what I'm actually doing is I'm not looking down, because I'm not tipping my head down, but I am actually casting my eyes slightly down. It's a form of soft focus, as Sally Swift in centered riding used to say, peripheral vision. You know, you're not focusing hard on a particular object. I think it's different if you're riding in a dressage test or something, you're having to focus on the markers, etc. But when you're just riding around ordinarily, and particularly schooling, you're very much, in my case, it's probably one of the only times I'm actually really in the moment when I'm teaching or if I'm riding. And so I'm very much in my own little world, riding around, you know, sort of schooling a horse. And I think that's one of the reasons why they have had to actually Photoshop my eyes in photographs in a magazine before now, in an article. So in Tallulah's case, we might have to tip her head back up. But in general, her overall position there is extremely good. And so she's in the ear, shoulder, hip, heel. I would like to see perhaps slightly less, yes, exactly. But on the other hand, you've got to watch that she's then not going to hollow the back too much.